the shell casing debris could not determine if it actually came from the murder weapon. The state called more witnesses, all childhood friends of Blake Downs, all with the similar testimony, stating Downs threatened those in his friend group, some at gunpoint. Those incidents were because he was accused of cheating at poker. The trial continues Monday with a reconstruction expert. In Goliad County, authorities are looking for information on these two suspects. On July 19th, Goliad County deputies went to U.S. Highway 183 North after a report of suspects throwing objects at passing vehicles. Deputies found the front windshields of a truck, tractor, and Ford Expedition damaged. Both drivers suffered facial injuries due to the flying glass. Earlier that night, two suspects brought 2 cases of bottled water in Goliad. They left the store in what appears to be a dark color Chevy sedan. If you have any information on this case, call the Goliad County Sheriff's Office. In Victoria County, deputies arrested a 30-year-old man Thursday. Felix Rivera of Glen Heights faces 3 charges, including tampering with physical evidence with intent to impair. He remains in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of a $100,000 bond. 3 American prisoners freed in the largest U.S.-Russia swap arrived in San Antonio. They arrived at Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio to receive medical evaluations, which is standard procedure for freed international prisoners. Paul Whelan, one of the Americans freed, said he received a souvenir from President Biden when he arrived at Joint Andrews Base in Maryland. He said he didn't feel like his release was real until the plane flew over familiar territory.
It was nice. It was nice. You know, it didn't feel real until we were flying over England. I'm a British citizen, Irish citizen, Canadian, and American. So as we came over England and I looked down, you know, that's when it became real. We flew over Ireland, then Canada, and into America, and then I knew I was home. So getting off the plane, seeing the president, the vice president, that was nice. It was a good homecoming. So looking forward to seeing my family down here and just recuperating from 5 years, 7 months, and 5 days of just absolute nonsense by the Russian government.
3 Americans were among 24 people freed from Russian imprisonment as part of the largest exchange between Washington and Moscow. And now let's take a look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis. Mac, what's the latest?
Well, for us, we actually had a couple of little thunder showers that popped up late this afternoon along the sea breeze. One of them is just south of the city right there. You might get some of that activity if you're on the south end of town. You can see how our street-by-street Doppler will show you the activity right about there. Now, that activity just pops because of the heating and the moisture and the humidity. However, we're going to talk about Florida, which is going to get pounded by Tropical Storm Debbie this weekend. We'll be talking about it coming up in a few minutes.
Mac, thank you. In Tarrant County, an attorney is accused of trying to buy unborn children from pregnant women in jail.
We now know at least 2 female inmates in the Tarrant County Jail were allegedly given hundreds of dollars and promised more to illegally sell their unborn babies to a Texas adoption agency. CBS News Texas was the first to report last night that Jody Hall is out on bond after being arrested and charged with the crime of trying to buy or sell a child. The 68-year-old founder of Adoptions International Incorporated reportedly exchanged messages with 2 inmates that were intercepted by a Tarrant County Sheriff's Department intelligence officer. On the arrest warrant obtained by CBS News Texas, Hall introduced herself to a pregnant inmate and tried to set up a meeting before her due date. Authorities later documented messages from Hall to the 29-year-old inmate saying, "Should be putting $sign on your books today or tomorrow." Authorities say that inmate eventually received more than $800 from Hall. But when the inmate decided to keep her child, authorities say Hall verbally attacked her, writing, "You're in jail and a drug addict. You did not keep him. You are a scammer." During another message exchange with a 24-year-old inmate, Hall reportedly wrote, "I've helped a lot of girls like yourself. We have families who cannot have children that would love to adopt your child. And we will put $100 weekly on your books, and you can spend part of it on the tablet or whatever you wish to buy. You will have $2,500 when you get out." That inmate also decided to keep her child, according to authorities. We spoke to her brother today, who told us she's still incarcerated and has yet to give birth. Buying or selling children, even for the purpose of adoption, is illegal and a felony in Texas. We have yet to get Hall's side of the story and reach her for comment. In Fort Worth, J.D. Miles, CBS News, Texas.
Chevron announced it's moving its headquarters from California to Texas. Chevron has been centered in California for more than a century, since 2002. Its corporate offices were in the Bay Area and San Ramon. Company leaders say while some people will relocate over a few years' time, top leadership is expected to be in Houston by the end of the year. About 7,000 employees are in the Houston area. In 2023, California sued Chevron and 4 other oil businesses for their pattern of lying to the public about the potential risks linked to fossil fuels. The Democratic Party has started the process of officially nominating Vice President Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, former President Donald Trump and his running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, will be campaigning together Saturday at a rally in Atlanta.
Vice President Kamala Harris now just one step closer to officially clinching the Democratic nomination, with sources saying she could lock in as early as today. It comes as speculation grows over her potential running mate, with sources telling ABC News her vetting team has met with 3 leading contenders: Arizona Senator Mark Kelly, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. Also on the short list, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, speaking in Oklahoma on Thursday and attacking Trump.
He called her a bum. Well, if Donald Trump wants to see a bum, he ought to look in the mirror. And what he'll see staring back are multiple bankruptcies and 34 felony convictions.
Harris's campaign announcing it raised $310 million just in July alone, the biggest amount so far in the 2024 campaign cycle. Donald Trump's campaign, meanwhile, says it raised about $140 million last month. The former president continuing to double down on his controversial attacks, questioning Harris's racial identity, telling an audience of black journalists that she's all of a sudden decided to become a black person. Harris has long identified as a black Indian American. Vance on CNN defending Trump's comments.
Kamala Harris is a chameleon. She is everything to everybody, and she pretends to be somebody different depending on which audience she's in front of.
And Vice President Harris is expected to announce who her running mate will be by Tuesday. She's then scheduled to visit 7 states over the course of 5 days, including battlegrounds Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Nevada. Morgan Norwood, ABC News, New York.
So far, leaders in Arizona have a suggestion for Vice President Kamala Harris. Leadership with the state's Democratic Party formally endorsed Senator Mark Kelly to become her running mate. In a statement, the Arizona Democratic Party's chairwoman called Kelly, quote, the type of leader Arizonians want and America needs, unquote. Sources say Harris will announce her running mate within the next 2 weeks. Kelly is reportedly among the names mentioned as a possibility. Let's Grow Texas Ag Part 2, Calhoun County, can be seen Saturday on KXTS at noon and on KBCT at 1:30. Let's Grow Texas Ag will be on KAVU Sunday afternoon at 4:30. Now remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click that notification bell. For now, stay with us. The park fire burning across California has now become the 4th largest wildfire in the state's history. Straight ahead on 25 News Now 5, how many acres the flames has burned since. And a federal judge has taken back control of the criminal case against former President Donald Trump. What this could mean for the 2020 election interference case. Straight ahead. Here's a look at Community Crossroads this weekend. We first sit down with Victoria College for their Super Saturday Back to School event, followed by the Nazareth Academy and the Food Bank of the Golden Crescent. We also touch base with Pam Health on lung cancer awareness.
Having exposures that are just environmental, so it could be, believe it or not, bakers and military folks, not necessarily the traditional folks that have been spending their life, much of their life smoking.
The Justice Department sues TikTok and parent company ByteDance for widespread violations of children's privacy laws. The Justice Department says from 2019 to the present, TikTok knowingly allowed children to create TikTok accounts and to create, view, and share messages with adults and others on the regular TikTok platform. TikTok is accused of collecting personal information from these children without getting consent from their parents. So here is your viewer poll this afternoon. You can scan that QR code right there on your screen to vote. The question is, would you support banning TikTok if it violated children's privacy rights? Yes or no? We want to hear from you. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 6. Now, the Park Fire is now the 4th largest wildfire in California history. The fire has grown to nearly 400,000 acres and has spread across 4 counties. As of this morning, it was 24% contained. The California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says the blaze has destroyed at least 538 structures, with thousands of others threatened. Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency in 2 counties affected by this fire. Investigators say the fire was started by a person who reportedly pushed a flame-drenched car into a park. Now, it's been one of the hottest summers on record for most of the U.S. and planet, which witnessed its hottest day in recorded history just last week. And consumers may be soon feeling the impact when they shop for groceries as well.
Inflation in the U.S. may be cooling since hitting a 4-decade high, but hotter temperatures are creating a new set of problems for farmers who grow the nation's food.
We are in, to a large extent, the business of managing risk, and this just impacts the risk of climate on the crops that we grow.
Tom Evanellis has been growing blueberries and citrus fruits in California and Oregon for decades. He says record-breaking heat is causing his business to suffer.
As it gets warmer, the fruit becomes more delicate, so we'll stop harvesting earlier, so it impacts the amount that we can harvest in a day.
Avanella says the cost farmers like him are incurring by upgrading irrigation systems will eventually be passed down to consumers. Drought concerns on the West Coast only add to the challenges.
As we've improved these irrigation systems, we are actually designing them to be able to provide the precise amount of water that the plant needs, so there's zero waste.
Higher produce prices are a reversal of a trend the country has seen over the last year, with the cost of fruits and vegetables dropping by 0.5%.
Much of this is going to be driven by climate change, which is very real, and we need to aggressively acknowledge that and take steps as a country and as a world to begin to navigate it most effectively.
In Atlanta, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
A federal judge in Washington, D.C. is reassuming the case against former President Donald Trump over his attempts to overturn the 2020 election. Judge Tanya Chutkan takes over the case just before the November election. This follows a Supreme Court ruling granting Trump immunity for official acts and pausing the case. The judge must now decide if Trump's actions fall under this immunity. This is the final federal case against Trump after Florida charges were dismissed. It's the largest prisoner exchange between the U.S. and Russia since the Cold War. But as 3 Americans are celebrating their freedom, experts say this experience will likely have an impact on their lives forever.
A historic prisoner swap, but after prolonged detainment, those released from Russia may have a long road ahead when it comes to mental and emotional well-being.
I think anytime somebody goes through a major life disruption, like being detained and imprisoned, there's going to be a readjustment period.
At Ohio State's Wexner Medical Center, Ariana Gallagher works with patients who have gone through trauma. She says people process it differently and not everyone will have a hard time afterwards. But she says for anyone who's gone through stress or trauma, it's important to be aware of post-traumatic stress disorder signs, including sleep disturbances, intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, nightmares, being easily startled, increased irritability, anxiety, and avoidance of people, places, or things that act as triggers.
It's natural to want to avoid having that experience. So for a lot of people, their world starts to become a little narrow because of those avoidance behaviors.
With the right support, Gallagher says those struggling after a trauma can find relief, many times through therapy.
I think the take-home message is that there's hope. You don't have to continue to suffer.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
State records show oil field electric lines were blamed for the 2 devastating February wildfires that burned in February. And no state agency claimed responsibility for it, making sure that those lines were built safely. You can read this Texas Tribune article on our website, crossroadstoday.com.
Well, we're taking a live picture and you can see the cloud cover coming in with that one thunderstorm. It's rolling south of the city. Can you catch that? Take a picture of it. It's going to be nice. Otherwise, we're looking at a temperature right now of 96. And of course, it feels like 111 because we talked about our heat index being very high for the next couple days. We're looking at 96 as our high. That's where we're supposed to be. We've been as warm as 103. But we are hoping that we'll get a sprinkle afternoon thunder shower. But in Florida, it's a completely different pattern. They've got a tropical storm to deal with, and we'll have all that coming up in a moment. Well, we're taking a look at our Doppler radar, and you can see the line of showers that popped up late this afternoon caused by all that heating. Of course, you know, the heat causes the air to rise, and when it gets just strong enough, we see this little pop-up line of showers. Now, nothing severe. It's just nice if you catch one. There you see the one that came through the city and through the south side of the city. So this is about the only opportunity for us to cool down, folks. So we're not going to complain of any of this. It might get you a little wet, but then again, yeah, what else could happen? You know, for us, we're looking at just hardly anything happening over the state of Texas over the next 5 to 7 days because all of the activity is out on the East Coast. So as of today, they upgraded this thing to tropical depression number 4. That's the name of it officially right now. But by tomorrow, when it breaks out out of Cuba, it'll likely become Tropical Storm Debbie, and then it'll start marching up the east coast of Florida. So already they have tropical storm advisories for the lower Florida coast. Then, of course, the rain is going to be dramatic. And basically from the Tallahassee all the way to maybe Savannah, Georgia, all that area south is going to be drenched by heavy rainfall. The bottom line is the speed of the center is what's making the difference. If it does slow down, the rainfall will be tremendous. If it speeds up, which we're kind of hoping for, it won't be as rainy. But at this point in time, it's a day-by-day kind of situation. So there's the system right about there. There you see all of the computer models that take it pretty much along the same path, and that'll be right up the eastern seaboard, western seaboard of Florida, and then finally turning out and getting out to sea. You know, it's funny how our dome is keeping it away from our area. Here's another future track animation, how you see the system drop heavy rainfall and then go maybe even up the middle of the state. This is all a matter of a day-by-day situation, but then it actually strengthens off the coast of South Carolina before it pulls out to sea. As I mentioned, the dome, which is making it very hot and stable for us, will have a lot to do. It's going to back up a little bit. That allows the system to come up into Florida. But then as we get into the early part of next week, they're sort of going to battle each other out. And we're not going to have any of that. It's just going to be pushed out into the Atlantic and not a major problem. So for us, basically a pretty good looking weekend is what I'm saying. We're looking sunny skies up to 94 in Port Lavaca. In Cuero, you're looking for lots of sun and a high of 97. Hello. Yeah, it's going to be warm and humid. Heat index today peaked at 111 and will be about 110. Now at 110 is when you just got to go outside, and if you have to go outside, make sure you get plenty of fluids and don't overdo it. But it's going to be hot and blazing all the way through with 96s for this weekend, staying in the mid 90s all the way through early next week. And right now, this gets all the way out to August the 9th. All I'm telling you right now is remember that I said August the 11th and 12th could be very interesting around here. We'll certainly have more on that when we can reveal the information. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that, put Crossroads Today on your phone. And here's Karina.
Thank you, Mac. Coming up next on 25 News Now 5, we're going to take a look at your stocks. Plus, a new report shows that fewer jobs were added to the U.S. economy. Why that's below economists' expectations next. Taking a look at your stocks, the Dow down 848 points, the S&P 500 down 123 points, and the Nasdaq down 461 points. Oil down $2.79, closing at $73.52 per barrel. The U.S. economy added just 114,000 jobs last month, falling short of expectations. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also reported an unexpected rise in the unemployment rate to 4.3%, the highest since October of 2021. This news led to a 900-point drop in the Dow and revived recession fears. The Nasdaq fell 3%, entering correction territory. Economists had forecasted 175,000 new jobs and a 4.1% unemployment rate. The weak report has some economists, or rather experts, worried about a rapid economic slowdown, dimming hopes for a soft landing. Now, shares of Nintendo fell today after the company released its first fiscal quarter results. Nintendo sold 2.1 million Switch consoles from April 1st to June 30th, a 46% drop from the previous year. The Switch, released over 7 years ago, saw Nintendo shares drop 2.34% by market close in Japan, more than analysts expected. Rumors suggest a new generation of Switch is in the development, with an official announcement expected within the next year. And stay with us. We're going to take one last look at your forecast. Plus, the Queen of Christmas is planning a 20-city Christmas tour to celebrate her Christmas album. Plus, here's a look at world news tonight, right after 25 News Now at 5.
Coming up, Vice President Kamala Harris secures the Democratic Party presidential nomination. Her search for a running mate now in the final phase. Also, the new weather threats from the south to the northeast, and the freed Americans back on U.S. soil next.
Carey will do a 20-city Christmas tour this fall to celebrate the 30th anniversary of her Merry Christmas album. That was the album with the classic All I Want for Christmas Is You single. The Mariah Carey's Christmas Time tour will start with 3 concerts in Southern California in early November. It will finish with 3 shows in the New York, New Jersey area in mid-December. Other major city tour dates include Houston, Atlanta, Philadelphia, Phoenix, Nashville, Austin, Dallas, and Boston. And Texas has 3 of those locations.
Yeah.
If you want to catch the Queen of Christmas herself.
I think we see more of her than we do of St. Nicholas, you know?
Yeah, on Christmas, you can't, it's an American thing now. You don't do Christmas without Mariah.
I mean, every mall in the country plays her music, so, well, that's good. At least she'll get us in the holiday spirit in November.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's when it starts. That's when you start putting up the decorations, right?
Well, I didn't.
That's when we started doing it.
I didn't used to do that, but now you're sort of forced into it. You know, some people are. I think there's already beginning to get ready for Halloween.
Oh yeah, I saw Halloween candy the other day.
Oh my!
And I was like, already?
Yeah, it's time. They start early. Anyway, folks, we've got a very simple forecast for the next 7 days, just hot and steamy. Today, our heat index did get up to 111. You might have felt it. You're going to perspire quite a bit over the weekend. Just remember, have a great weekend, but in the middle part of the day, you don't want to overdo any strenuous activity, get your heart rate up, because if you perspire and perspire and perspire, you're not going to evaporate that perspiration, so it's not going to cool you down. That's why you need to take breaks, get plenty of fluids as well.
Yeah, and remind us one more time, because those pets also get exhausted too, and we often forget about their little paws.
Absolutely. The little paws, you know, walking across the concrete, be careful with that. And they're going to need water too, because, I mean, they're wearing a coat, you know, I mean.
Especially those babies with the long hair. Huskies this time of year really suffer.
They're going to need to cool down as well. Get those little $5 pools, the plastic ones. Just let them go sit out there and enjoy.
All righty. Thank you, Mac. And thank you for being with us. We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 6. World News Tonight with David Muir is up next.